Hi, and welcome back to Jim Builds. I am Jim, and we're going to try and get the Cortina sorted. It's been a few weeks since I've worked on it. Le Mans was pretty hectic, and I've gone straight back into work, and things have been a bit busy there. So I've just not had the time to put into the Cortina. Plus, I've been trying to acquire some parts because there's stuff that I want to do, not to improve the Cortina, but also fix a few problems that I found. But before we do that, I just need to get the covers off, get her up in the air, and we will get cracking with some of these jobs. So the first job I've got is taking the diff out. I had it rebuilt over Christmas, new bearings in the drive shafts, so a little bit frustrated that I've got to do this again, but if I've got to, I've got to. Because it was sounding, well, it sounds like you're driving with tinnitus. It is screaming, but I'm getting a bit of, seems louder when you're going forwards and backwards. Now, I don't know much about the diff, like how they work. Well, I know how they work, but not how they should or shouldn't sound. And from a gearing point of view, that sounds loud to say we're only doing a couple of RPM. So taking the drums off first because I wanted to check that there was no brake binding or everything else that was causing any issues. I am going to try and get those skimmed, I reckon. Well, they're off, and if I can get it done, then I'll get it done. But I have been tempted by Retro Ford's rear disc conversion, mainly because these are getting harder and harder to get the bits for, with it being the self-adjusting. They're not great. So why not upgrade to something that I can actually use? Anyway. Right, so I've managed to get the diff back. The lash has been tweaked on this from our discussions, so hopefully it won't scream anymore. I've got new bearings on the drive shafts, even though we put new ones on last time, but it seems to think that it was the bearings that were the problem, but we'll see. Right, I'm going to go throw this under the cart and then we'll get it fitted. What I am going to do next is remove the roof, which I'm a little bit gutted about because I actually quite like it, but as you can see, it's not the best job in the world. And I might, maybe one day, actually get this done professionally because I think it looks mega. Till you get to the front, and then it looks like I actually bit it. So yeah, let's get this off. Enough from a car. You need a little bit of heat. Now you can use a hairdryer. Clearly I don't own one of them, but I do own a heat gun, which has got a very low warm setting, as opposed to second and then third degree burns. So we'll go on with the low, and it should just raise it enough, and then we'll give the car a proper wash and give it a polish again, because it's been over a year since I've polished it and waxed it. That stuff lasted forever. It was really good. But yeah, right, let's get to it. So I've just come back from the powder coaters, and the rocker cover is looking pretty good. There's a few pits on it, but then it's old, and quite honestly, it's part of its look. Got a pretty original factory look about it, which is what I quite like. But before I fit it, I'm going to put the gasket on. One thing I do with these now is I stick the gasket to the rocker cover. Seems to get a good seal that way. I did used to try doing it to the head. It never really adhered right, and that's probably part of the reason I've had problems, because I tried doing that whilst we were in France and just didn't work out. So I'll set the camera up and I'll show you what I'll do. I'm going to bead this. The gasket. Go with the cork ones. They seem to be pretty good quality, and the ones I've had from Burton Power have never really let me down. Not counting the Le Mans one as a failure, because I reused a gasket, which is a bit of a no-no. But I have got away with it in the past. Not that that excuses it. Right, as you can see, the gasket wants to pull away from the edge, which is what was happening whilst we're in France. So, happy with where it is approximately. Next up is a bit of masking tape. What this will do, if I put that there, is that I can just tape the gasket where I need it to sit. And that's it. So that will sit now till tomorrow morning. I'll get up early and I will try and get the rocker cover fitted. Right, next day, not the morning, but it's stuck on and the fit is really good, and that's why I stick them onto this. It's worked out in the past. It's my own fault for rushing before we went to France. I just threw this on, having taken it off and on a few times, and thought it'll be alright, and that was wrong, because it wasn't alright, and then it continued not being right. So I'm going to fire this on and let's go. That is the crack. I've tried taking a wire brush to it, and unfortunately it looks like it goes, it's quite wide at this point, and then on the, sorry, the light's not great, do my best. At this point you can see it still goes all the way around. I had considered trying to weld it in situ, but realistically that ain't gonna work, so it's manifold off. Bugger. Yeah, so I was expecting something with a problem with the exhaust. I thought it was because something hadn't sealed right. I wasn't expecting it to be broken there. Just letting it cool down a bit before I start touching it. Looks like one of the original welds is basically fractured. Hoping I can get to fix it where it is, if there's enough room, but let it cool down first, and I'll go back and have another look at it. That's not meant to happen. Oh dear. So that's the damage then. Looks like it's, I don't know if it's a stress fracture or not. I mean, I would have thought if it was going to be stress, it would have been where it's failed before, here. I mean, some of that looks not particularly thin. It's definitely thin at that edge. Maybe it's
corrosion damage. It's not the best on there. I mean, if it, like I say, if it was stress, you would expect it to go on both of them. But looking at this here, not a problem. So next up, I've got to figure out how to do this. Now I do have some spare cylinder heads, so I'm going to try and get one of those out and see what the threads are like and whether I can bolt all this up. So I'm going to find a cylinder head first and go from there. Right, I've got one of my spare cylinder heads out. Got this bolted up. You can see where I've got to weld it here. I've given this a clean off. I think that's as best I'm going to get it jigged up, so it's not going to get any better. Everything's supported. That's good to go. Everything's ready. I'm going to put my mask on and see what it welds like. Got a fresh gasket. Time to throw everything back on. Now, in this part in the video, I was hoping that we'd be going for a test drive, but I've just found a problem. Right, if I try, we're in neutral, and if I try and fire up the car, so that clunk is a gearbox clunk, and not a good one. Not that there is a good one. It's actually the fasteners that hold the bell housing to the main casing have come loose, probably for basically sustained high revs on quite old threads. So it's looking like I'm going to have to take the gearbox out, have a look at it, work out what threads are okay or what aren't, and probably go down the route of either placing the casing, which I do have one, or fixing the threads. So I'm going to leave this one here. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I need to start getting back into doing some work on the car and doing some stuff like this because it's been a while and I've been a bit lax. Anyway, if you could like it, get in touch, I'd really appreciate that, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.